Hi, everyone. Please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. So when might it happen? Before I get to that, I'll point out something I said in a video quite a while back where I talked about the fact that already this summer he was going to be involved in controversies due to the fact that the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in early Aries makes a stressful aspect to his Mars. And so here we are. He went against his promises during the confirmation around vaccines. In the latest iteration of this, he is trying to say, as many Republicans do, no news there, but it's yet another incredibly irritating way to approach the topic of mass shootings. All of a sudden, it's never the gun. It's always some other reason. Almost always they'll say, well, it's because the person is crazy and we need to focus on mental health instead, neglecting to point out that if these so-called crazy people couldn't get a hold of so many guns, maybe they wouldn't be shooting up people. But whatever the case may be, this is what's happening. He's now saying that it could be that they were on antidepressants, and so hence you see the comments from the Minnesota senator basically calling him out. And then there's the fact that all those people at the CDC resign in protest, including a person that was appointed by Trump. So he's definitely been surrounded by scandals or close to what you would call an important scandal during this summer period. But if you're looking for real trouble, you need to get Saturn more in there to start to see the real action. And there is where you see the Capricorn to Cancer opposition, and the key planet is the moon in the 12th. If you agitate a planet like that, particularly from Saturn, that's when you can get in a lot of trouble. This is where you see Saturn moving toward those degrees once it enters Aries, which it will around February of 2026. Right now, Saturn is backtracking into Pisces for the next several months. It'll enter there September 1st and leave mid-February, whereupon goes into Aries, moves up in degrees, and around mid-May, late May, all the way into October, it connects to that moon. And in fact, in the summer, it'll make a direct square in a station. That's when you can get in serious trouble. The kind of trouble that either causes him to go down in flames and or potentially do irreparable damage to the Trump administration at the worst possible time, since that's an election year. And if something goes wrong, it's going to be a really serious problem. In fact, the other thing is that that moon of his in Cancer, it's not quite at the degrees of Trump's Mercury in that infamous Access Hollywood T-square of his, where many people will have planets that can cause them problems. But at 13, it's still totally valid and can therefore become something that does damage to Trump. But of course, you have to realize that all of this, if you say, okay, well, this is going to happen, it's going to cause problems, it's going to bring them down. Yes, of course, but the problem is that it hurts the country. It means that instead of health security, we're living through health insecurity. Something could go seriously wrong. The way they're doing things, they're cutting off funding for inspections, they're removing lots and lots of staff. This is how you take chances, and then things go wrong. Of course, we also know that, as scary as it could potentially be, how do you get rid of this insanity? MAGAism and on multiple levels, including this most important level, unfortunately, is by witnessing their incompetence. Because if they're doing all these things in various departments and they're actually able to succeed, then the public will shrug their shoulders and keep going. And by public, I mean the people that are supporting this, because having said that, we also know that a majority doesn't support it, but we still need to chip away at the number of people that are supporting it. The unfortunate part is that it's going to come at the cost of our suffering. But nevertheless, all we can do is hang in there and do the best to protect ourselves. And we do know that this guy, among others, has very compromising energy next year. I'm focusing on the Saturn because the Saturn is the heavy hitter and is almost always the planet that really gets a person in trouble. But to also notice that with that early Leo rising, the Pluto energy is roaming around the ascendant, descendant degrees. So it piles on as well. Of course, that's also what is causing him to be in major transformation mode, meaning he's trying to make all kinds of big changes, which is what Pluto does, but pretty obviously tilts on the dark side when it comes to this guy. And we can also throw in that the Chiron cycle, which you'll see it there at birth, clustered around all his Capricorn planets, but of course square Neptune and the Black Moon. So it's a bit of a, let's call it a delusional Chiron. Well, right now that's up in Aries squaring, so it's also part of the issue, that we're dealing with him, in the sense that it's another pressure planet that is not helping, and can throw the Eris energy in there. It's interesting that that's a planet that is, really aggravating Trump. But notice that RFK has his Venus 24 plus Capricorn, so the Eris is directly squaring. These are planetary energies that, when they're sitting there lurking in the background, they just need to be activated for things to go wrong. So in that sense, that Eris, already as early as January, it could start to pose problems because it will activate that square. But the biggest factor is the mid-year period when his moon is being directly squared by Saturn. And then, of course, that takes us into the election period, because once it makes the aspect, it's not over until it crosses those degrees again, and that doesn't happen until 2027. So bottom line, be careful with health matters, meaning don't assume anything. Just be more careful than usual on account of the way this guy's chart is. But on the plus side, it's a marker of election success, because he, among other people of Trump's cabinet, has this kind of pattern in 2026, which tends to be the kind of thing that takes you down.